And yeah, we settled on Scenic Trend because we wanted to focus on the scenic city, as Chattanooga is called. And then also we had this idea of we want to focus on the trendsetters, people who are really making waves and big changes in the Chattanooga area.
Welcome to the Startup Heroes Podcast, a place to learn about business from local Chattanooga superheroes sharing their entrepreneurial journey, their superpowers, kryptonite, sidekicks, and villains. You'll learn about the principles and actions it took these founders to build their dreams, and hopefully be inspired to do the same. Thank you for listening.
Let's flip the script. Nate, how did you and Dillan meet? I've heard this story recently, and it's amazing.
Oh, goodness. Okay. We're going to band camp?
We're going to band camp.
Yeah, we're going to band camp, folks. Okay, so me and Dillan, we met in the 8th grade. Our first real meeting would be basically he had recently moved to our small town where we went to high school. We lived on the same road. We were both kind of the new kids. I'd already been there for a year when he got there, but still, it's a small town, middle of Northwest Georgia. New kids are kind of an anomaly for that kind of place. But yeah, so all of a sudden, I'd walk to school, and now there's just this other kid walking to school too. And we had, we'd casually say hi and stuff like that. We were both in the marching band. So over the summer, we'd go to practice together, and we'd end up walking adjacent to each other. I don't think we really spoke that much though, beyond just a hey, how's it going? What really did it was when we went to band camp. So we go to band camp, which was is at JSU in Alabama. We go there, and basically it's just a week. I think it's a week, right? Not 2 weeks, just a whole
week.
Yeah, just a whole week of just practice and nailing down our show for that year. And so at band camp, the way we did was we were the freshmen, we're the rookies who were this is our first year in band. So a senior at the high school is in charge of us. And so me and Dylan...
Yes, that does sound as terrible as it is.
Yeah, so we end up rooming together, and they do this fun event where it's a senior day, where you have to do whatever your senior says.
Super fun event.
Yeah, really cool. Totally nothing weird. So our senior, I need to disclose, there's nothing wrong if you're this kind of person. Totally cool with that.
It just provides context.
Yes, it's purely contextual. And just to show how we bonded. But yeah, so our senior, he's a great guy, really nice guy who lived on my street. But he was very into a couple of particular cultures. He's a big brony, a fan of My Little Pony. He was a big Pokemon guy, very just geeky guy. He wore a trench coat every single day. He just kind of walk around with that, and he had a walking stick. He just would come to school like that. It was great.
Would he always tip his hat and say "milady"?
I actually think he did that a couple of times.
I regret asking.
Neckbeard 1.0.
Again, he's a nice guy and everything, but yeah, so he's in charge of us. So for senior day, he made us costumes. So Dylan, I think, was you were a Pokemon, right?
Yeah, I was Lucario. He made me a cool little hat, and it had the Lucario ears and eyes on it, and then what else does he have? Yeah, I just had the eyes and
Did
the
you
ears
have a tail or anything?
He didn't give me a tail.
Oh, you're lucky.
Yeah.
Because I was a character from My Little Pony. I think it was Fluttershy, I think was her name.
Nathan was Fluttershy.
Fluttershy from My Little Pony.
Very sparkly outfit.
Yeah, very sparkly outfit.
Fetish.
Yep, had a tail and everything. And so I had to speak in Fluttershy's voice. That was my thing that I had to do for him. Yeah, it sounds terrible.
Give us a sample, Nate.
Nope, I can't do it anymore. I've grown up.
Give the people what they want.
But yeah, so the whole senior day was just kind of you have to just do what your senior says, and then there's always weird games you have to do. There's remember the phrases they'd yell "Where's the fire?" and you had to scream "In my pants." All the rookies had to do that if a senior said that.
Just in public.
Yeah.
And there was one, I forgot what it was, but you had to collapse on the ground and act like you were having a seizure. And there was 50 of us. So It was just so strange. We were just in the Jacksonville State University's cafeteria. And they were also having a basketball camp. So this all the like D2 like giant basketball players, all like 6 foot. They're just like eating their breakfast, and then everyone, like all of these just like tiny like freshmen high schoolers would just collapse on the ground and start like having a seizure, and it looked insane.
But yeah, so we went through like that entire day, and at the end of it, we did like is that like a water balloon fight, right? Or something?
No, it was a whipped cream
battle.
Shaving cream.
Shaving cream, yeah. So we all like ran around putting shaving cream on each other. And then you had to like get like, I think they hosed us down, right?
Yeah, they
like,
hosed us down with a water hose.
Yeah.
After.
Getting worse and worse.
So they hose us down, and then we go back to like our rooms, and it was like the kind of like dorm setup where like it's just, like 2 dorms, so you like share a bathroom. So then like they gave us like pizza, and I think and we were like we just like went to Dylan's room together and like ate pizza, and I guess we like
in the corner.
Yeah, we kind of just like had like shared trauma. So
I remember there wasn't
tea trauma.
there wasn't like a lot of conversation going on after. We were kind of just like in like shell shock. Just like eating pizza, just staring at the floor.
Straight up PTSD.
Like we sat in the floor. We didn't even like sit in a chair. Or anything.
no, yeah, you just sat.
We just sat there, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I gotta think that. I was like, was there any conversation? I really think it was just kind of like, we're like, wow, that happened.
Yeah, we were just kind of staring at each other. It was great.
Trial through fire.
It's like it took you a minute to realize that you were violated in like every way imaginable.
But yeah, after that, we were just kind of friends. That'll do that, I think.
That'll do it. That's why hazing exists, is because if you can either hate it or become friends.
Or both.
But yeah, and then just like all of high school, we were buds. We were always like hanging out and stuff like that. We had like moments where like I had to like get like a job when I turned 16 at Kmart. It was like a full-time job too. That I could make a whole podcast about that. Maybe I should. About my experiences working at closing Kmart. It was great. But yeah, I had that job and stuff like that, and he kept on going with band, and a lot of times like our classes didn't line up. But we always like stay connected. We're always friends. I think like college, that was really where like we became like attached at like the hip.
Yeah, it was many car rides to Dalton State College together to like save on gas, because we're going to the same place anyway. We can just do that and then like stay at each other's house, and then it will like save gas kind of, which I guess it did. Maybe. I don't know. It was the thought that counted.
And also help each other in therapy.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun therapy.
So that turned into what? Some sort of venture together.
Yeah. So I think we have 2 like different perspectives a little bit on how this all began. But I'd say like, what year is it? Like our sophomore year? Of,
very beginning of sophomore year in college.
Yeah. So like sophomore year of college. Well, so Dylan, and the way I remember it was Dylan went through like a big period of like, you just really wanted to start a business. And we tried a lot of stuff. And I know like you tried even more like on your own of like, you want to do like drop shipping. Remember Woke Wallaby?
Yeah, I made 2 or 3 drop shipping companies that were around apparel. And then one that was about mugs. I never sold anything, but I like set up all of the accounts and like made the websites, and it kind of was like very valuable experience, if anything, because I learned how to like build websites through like templates. I learned like about basic like business practices, about like taking something from somewhere and then selling it for more than what I got it for, even though that was never successful. But the good thing was I never spent any money on it.
That's good.
So it was just kind of like free knowledge. I just used my time. Mm-hmm. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, even though nothing happened from it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so kind of like, so yeah, keep going, Nate.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, you were going through that period. I remember like you talked to me about it a lot, and we had like lots of moments of like where you'd be like, we should buy like a screen like printer and stuff like that. We should like buy this stuff. And I was always very hesitant. I remember like, I don't know, I was just a bit more iffy on it. I wish I had been. I shouldn't have been so like hesitant. But yeah, and at the time I was doing a lot of like freelance writing for local, like for a couple like local publications, and then also like I just like find like an online magazine, like send them like, you know, like, hey, I wrote this article, try to just get like a couple like, you know, $50 here and there off that. Because that was my big thing at the moment. It was like my writing experience. And so what connected all of this was our friend Philip. So I'm not sure how this like relationship developed, but while I worked at Kmart, I became friends with like a lot of rappers who were like local hip hop artists who either worked at the Kmart or who like would just hang out there. I guess like I don't know why, but they were like would like gravitate towards me, and they
That's
became
the place to be.
Yeah, apparently.
Slip your SoundCloud album into their shopping bag.
I probably, but yeah. So they like I befriended them, and then whenever like we were at Dillan State, we met this great guy named Philip. And Philip was like he was a rapper, and so I became friends with him through like our like mutual like rapper friends, and he wanted to start a hip hop magazine. So he talked to me and Dylan, because like, and he basically like merged all of our skills of like, Philip is like in the scene, he understands and knows what's going on. I could be like the writer and create content for it, and Dylan was like the marketing and business minded guy for it.
Yeah, so Nathan kind of approached me with this information of like, hey, I have this guy in one of my classes, he's a rapper. And I was like, you're joking. And he wasn't. So I met Philip in the cafeteria with Nathan, introducing the two of us to each other. And Philip was epic. Like, he's awesome. So yeah, we kind of just started Leaker after we talked about it, and we helped kind of just like build the website and then build the socials, and then we just use like Gary's like $1.80 method, basically, of just like blasting people in like different hashtags and locations, just like putting our 2 cents in 90 times every day to make that $1.80. And it was super effective. Like 6 months of just like doing that like semi consistently every day, we got like well over 2,500 followers, and we had a pretty good following. And then that kind of turned into us going into shows and stuff. We were invited to, selling merchandise that Philip had made. He's a great artist. He still makes stickers and stuff. He makes a lot of cover art as well for like pretty big rappers now.
And this was called Leaker Magazine?
This was called Leaker Magazine. Thank you. Yes. This was called Leaker Magazine. That lasted for a year. After the year, Philip went to just do art stuff, and then Nathan and I were like, we should start a new thing, but not only focus on hip-hop artists, do all kinds of music, all kinds of art, do photography, do local businesses, do culinary arts, because that's surprisingly big here in Chattanooga, and no one's really covering it. So yeah, we started Scenic Trend like December 28th, 2019, right?
Yeah, something like that. I remember like it's like the day after like Leaker had like stopped, I guess, because like we had told Philip like, you know, like we don't really like want to do this anymore, because like he was doing his art stuff. I was having a lot of issues with getting content for it, and I kind of wanted to like branch out, and we talked about doing like rebranding and stuff like that, but just I don't know, nothing really came of it. Yeah, I remember like we like the day after we'd all like talked about it, and we'd all kind of been like, okay, I guess we're gonna dissolve this and move on. Like we were just like at like the coffee shop in Eastridge that me and Dylan were working at, and like all day we were just like grinding like names and stuff of like what are we gonna call this? And yeah, we settled on Scenic Trend because we wanted to focus on like, you know, the scenic city, as Chattanooga is called, and then also like we had this idea of we want to focus on the trendsetters, people who are really like making like waves and big changes in the Chattanooga area.
Real quick, what were 3 other cool names that you almost went with?
So one of our like kind of, I don't know if you call it like a slogan, but like a thing that I always like try to like integrate into Scenic Trend is Chattabunga, which is just this stupid phrase I came up with.
Yeah, it's
Not
our
stupid,
hashtag.
it's amazing.
It's our
love
hashtag
it.
for every post.
Yeah, we put Chattabunga on everything. Hashtag Chattabunga. And that was one of the name ideas initially, was like, we're going to call it like Chattabunga Magazine. I remember that one. We probably, what else did we have? I feel like we had like a lot of like gig city focused ones.
Yeah,
and
it was
stuff.
like Gig City,
Trend.
something like that. And one was like the River City View.
Yeah, a bit more professional, but yeah.
We were like, we're not that, so we'll do Scenic Trend. And
All right.
then it just kind of took off.
So what is Scenic Trend now?
Yeah, so Scenic Trend, like, so initially when we first started, it very much, like, still followed the model, that Leaker had of, like, us going out into the community. We'd go, like, all these, like, art shows, like, photography nights at UTC and things like that, and just, like, do, like, street interviews. We wanted to do, like, videos and things like that. But now I have to remind you of some dates. So we started it in December 2019 to, like, January of 2020. So we got to have about 3 months of doing that before the world stopped because of COVID. So we suddenly, like, we just couldn't be out there making the content we wanted to create. So that really, like, forced us to kind of, like, redo how, like, we were, like, thinking about things and, like, reassess, like, what we could do considering all of that. And I was in charge of more, like, the content side of things. So I pivoted heavily to doing more, like, article style content, kind of like we did at Leaker, but on like a more professional level with like better editing, interviews and stuff like that. So it really went from like, like a fun magazine about like just like, you know, like businesses that we like and stuff like that, and like cool events, to like a like individual focused, like here are cool people in Chattanooga kind of thing. And the big effect we like saw from that was like during COVID, especially when like the music scene was basically killed from like live music going away, and all these artists lost like gigs that they had and everything.
Track 29 went away. Songbirds.
Exactly.
changed.
So much died because of it in like the Chattanooga area. And we became like a big, like almost like a refuge. And we like constantly like, you know, we'd write like an article about people, and I'd have that moment of like, oh, this is just something I like wrote in like an hour about this musician. And then like I'd encounter them and they'd be like, hey, I just want you to know, like, I really appreciate that. Because like that's the only coverage they've gotten in like months. And and that it really developed in like a more like community focused kind of thing of like us like helping people. And then now we have an internship program too at like all of the local colleges. So like for the past like couple of semesters, we've been able to like take like people who were like us at Dillan State College, wanting to start a business but not knowing how, and like teach them like, here's how you do social media stuff, or here's how you like do journalism, because there's nowhere to learn that stuff in Chattanooga.
Other than the colleges they're attending.
I mean, we could really
Debatable.
talk about that. Yeah.
So Dylan, what is this rebrand that y'all are kind of digging into right now?
Yeah, we are doing a Scenic Trend rebrand. So we, so with like a lot of college students and stuff working for us, we wanted them to be very passionate about what they're working for. We also want to kind of have like more of like an effective merch line coming out, so we can kind of get that revenue. We also want to, of course, get more hits on our website, so we can show that to other businesses and say, hey, you want ad space on our site? This is like the amount of visitors we get. This is what you can expect to get from like your ad, so we can give them at least some kind of insight. So we're working on a rebrand right now. It's still going to be called Scenic Trend, but we're kind of going for like a different aesthetic and a different feel. We're kind of leaning right now towards a retro, kind of like a retro vibe that would look really cool on like hats, on t-shirts. Our interns are really excited about it. And it's super exciting. We're going to also have more like different styles of content come out too. Which I think Nathan is playing around with a little bit, which I'm super excited for.
Yeah. Like I said, like we had to like heavily pivot because of COVID and stuff like that. And in a way, like it was a blessing from that. Like it made us like really reshape like how we impact the community. And I really like what we do now and everything. But now that like we have these interns, and now that things are getting better in our area thanks to vaccines and stuff like that, we can start doing a more like variety, like a larger variety of content. And also like with us wanting to go more into like that business side of things, like Dylan is discussing with like merch and stuff like that, we want to do more of like stuff focused on like content that helps promote brands and individuals who are like creating stuff, and helping them actually like get sales and things like that. So yes, that's like a very big part of that.
Yeah, and also with that, with the rebrand, we're also going to be introducing soon a an influencer kind of like tab on the website where we can gather local maybe influencers from the South and kind of sell that for influencer marketing, and probably most definitely tie HiveThink into that so we can use them for influencer marketing and just have like a data source of influencers, make those connections with them so they're easy to access and easy to help others out.
All right, so real quick, we're going to do, I want you, Dylan, to tell us the superpower of Scenic Trend. I want you to tell us, Nate, the kryptonite of it. And then we're going to get into how we all got connected to each other.
Let's do it. So yeah, superpower for Scenic Trend. I think we're very connected. I think we have a very strong network throughout Chattanooga. With like Leaker and stuff, we made all of these very valuable connections that we still use today, and we still talk to them regularly. We have a lot of like very close like supporters of Scenic Trend, people who are like who have a very big brand loyalty to us, which is very amazing. We have a lot of like artists and stuff who we could just reach out to and say, hey, could you help us with this? And they do it like 100%. They're so like kind of just devoted to like our idea of we want to help out like the smaller artists in Chattanooga. We also want to help out the smaller businesses and also just any business and artists in Chattanooga. We want to kind of just like flex what our city has.
Yep.
A lot of people think that they have to leave Chattanooga to kind of like make it big, and that's not necessarily true because I feel like the culture here is very art focused and is very like community focused. And I think if people just know how to kind of jump into that and effectively brand themselves within this community, then that can be huge.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. Your superpower has kind of become what your original intent of the magazine was in the first place, which was community building and kind of building up these artists. So it's really, really exciting that that's become your strength because that was kind of the original intent in the first place. So.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome.
Just making those connections as early as we can has been really effective. Like we wouldn't have met you or Doug if we hadn't made Scenic Trend and become pretty close with Luke. So this is all because of that.
And we'll get
Pretty
there in a
much.
second.
Yeah.
So Nate, what's your kryptonite or Scenic Trend's kryptonite? That is.
So I think that like where Scenic Trend really like struggles, I think is like a fact of like, since it is such like, it's interesting because like our kryptonite is very much like tied to like our powers at the same time. And that like, you know, because we are so focused on like the community and everything like that and being like a very like fun place where people can learn, everything's very like relaxed, and that's very intentional. That's like what we want. We want people to like be a part of it, not because like, oh, this is a place where I can make a lot of money, because it's not. Or like, you know, or like this is a place with like high prestige. Again, it's not. It's just something that like a couple of guys are doing to help their community. I think in a way that does like make some barriers for us. We aren't taken as seriously as I would like us to be. We don't have like the like cash flow that I would like us to have, because if we could have that kind of stuff, we'd be able to do way more with it. So I think like the biggest thing, like, and that's why we're doing this rebrand, is like we want to work on like making sure that people see Scenic Trend and they can take it like to like the next level of like, okay, these guys have built a following. They've shown like they can do what they're saying they want to do. I want people to start like really believing in us and like being willing to like throw some money behind it and be willing to like buy our merch and things like that. So I think that's where we really like have had struggles. And I want to make sure like we keep things still like Chattanooga scale, Chattanooga focus, and focus on like giving people like quality education with our interns and stuff like that and everything, and make sure like, you know, that's like a stress-free environment where people can just have a good time and get involved. But also like we need to make sure like that we start being more professional to an extent, that we have that aesthetic like Dylan talked about, that makes people go like, okay, this isn't just like some guys at the website. This is a real publication that's out here doing really good work for the community.
That's awesome. All right. Nate, share our first interaction ever.
All right.
This is how Be Caffeinated, Scenic Trend, Hive Think, their origin story.
Yeah, it all comes back to a Facebook DM.
As most good things in life do.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to go back a little bit. So at during like early to mid 2020, I was working at an ice cream shop as like the manager of it. Basically, that was like the way I was making money at the time. Since like we're in the middle of COVID and everything. I just graduated from Dillan State College. It's very hard to find like jobs and like the profession I wanted and everything. So things were a little rough. Like I enjoyed my job. I'm very like appreciative of it. It's a great opportunity, especially like for that time. But yeah, so I was doing that, and I reached out to our friend Luke Pickett, and Luke is a musician and coffee roaster who I've known for several years now because of like, for one, from like Scenic Trend side of things, like interviewing him about his music and things like that. And also like me and Dillan, as we had mentioned, like we used to work at another coffee shop that we helped actually start over in East Ridge. And Luke had been our like roaster for that and everything. And he had helped us very like much with like getting started. So I just like out of nowhere, just like was like, I'm going to text him to like ask if he has anything going on. Cause we haven't done an article on Luke in a while. He's a great guy. He always is fun to talk to. So I message him. I'm like, hey, how's music going? He starts telling me about like some like new project he has going. And then he's like, also, I'm roasting coffee again. Now Luke had like roasted coffee in like a year or two, I think at that point. So
It had been probably 8 months.
Okay. Well, still.
Yeah, it had been a while.
Yeah. And that's like what I knew him for. So it really like surprised me because I thought he's like out of it. And he's
That's
like
what he thought too.
and he's like a phenomenal roaster. Like he's probably one of, if not the best in our region, I would say.
He's
like,
got a couple national awards.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the awards physically because he just chose not to take them with him, I guess. But he has national recognition, that's for sure.
We gotta get Luke on here. He's such a fun personality.
Yeah. Oh, he will. Don't worry.
But yeah, so yeah, I just was like talking to him. He told me like, yeah, I'm roasting coffee again for this company called New Wave. And he gave me like the website code and stuff like that. He's like, here, go look at. And I looked at it and everything. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And he told me I'm doing it through Be Caffeinated. Now, I love coffee shops, and before COVID hit, I had this thing I did where, like, every week I was like, I gotta try, like, 2 local businesses, because I wanted to just try everywhere I could in Chattanooga. And Be Caffeinated had been, like, on my radar at that time, but that was also when it was just, like, the one shop in Red Bank, and I always just kind of looked at, like, oh, it's, like, some, like, kind of rinky-dink drive-through.
You're not wrong.
I was like, that's fun. I'll go check it out eventually. But then COVID happened. I was like, I'm never in Chattanooga now. And I forgot you guys existed. Yeah. But yeah, so he told me, like, I'm doing this through Be Caffeinated. And so I was like, do you think they need help? Because I really wanted to get back into coffee. Because I love being a barista. It's such a fun job, being able to, like, just interact with people while also, like, making good drinks. Being able to just drink coffee all day is also a really fun career. Yeah. So I messaged them and I was like, do you need help with like barista stuff or with marketing stuff too? Since like I've just graduated and we have all this experience, I told them about Scenic Trend, and like sure enough, like Chris got back to me, I think like the day of me sending that message, and he is like, yeah, come here. Yeah, I went down there, I met him.
And at that point we'd opened the North Shore shop.
Yeah.
We'd been open for maybe a couple months.
I think so. You said like 6 months, I think. Something like that.
No, we've only been open there for 10 months now.
That's crazy.
It was, because this was like, what, February or March?
It is March,
of
yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
And we opened in November. So we'd been there like 4 months.
Oh my gosh. Okay. But yeah, I remember like I pulled up, I was like, what is this? Like it was so impressive, because in my mind I was like,
a lot different than our
I was like, I guess I'm gonna like walk up to like the drive-through window and say like I'm here to talk to the owner. But no, like I walked in, I was like, this is a nice like huge coffee shop and everything. I was really impressed like immediately. And also like I don't think I'd stepped inside a coffee shop in like at least a year, and like I got like that wave of like nostalgia, like hearing like milk being steamed and stuff. It's like, oh yeah. I'm back.
Daddy's home.
But yeah,
No, okay.
But no, yeah. So that's like how we first met. Was like I walked in, I asked for Chris, you came out, and
what did you think? You were like, what did you say?
I got a little scared.
You thought I was going to be a country bumpkin? Isn't that what you said?
Just a little bit. Something in that realm. I had a moment of like, oh, this is the guy. And then we sat down. And I was like, wait, no, this guy, like, he knows what he's talking about. He's really intelligent. Like, that was immediately apparent.
Still a country bumpkin, but an intelligent.
But yeah, we sat down with them. We talked about everything. And yeah, I remember, like, that day, like, I kept mentioning Dillan. Because Dillan had no idea about this, I don't think. Like, it just kind of happened. Yeah. I just kept, like, you were asking about, like, stuff we had done. And obviously, like, I can't talk about what I've done without saying, like, I did this with Dillan.
Yeah. I was like, this guy's talking about this other dude a lot. This is kind of weird. And then I met him, and I was like, this is weird. And then I got to know him, and I was like, oh, they're a package deal. Okay. Yeah.
But
so,
yeah.
Dillan, from your perspective, what happened?
Yeah, so I'm sitting at the ice cream shop we were working at. Should we name drop?
I guess. I'll see why
Droop
not.
Scoops.
Yeah.
In Chickamauga, Georgia. You should check it out. They also have coffee now, and it's the best coffee shop in Chickamauga.
Is it also the only coffee shop in Chickamauga?
Surprisingly, no.
Oh, okay.
There's
nice.
like 3 of them now.
Nice.
But yeah, best coffee in Chickamauga, Georgia. If you're ever there, which maybe you shouldn't. But if you are ever there, you should check it out. Yeah, so I'm just sitting there because that's like kind of what you do there. I mean, unless there's like a school rush or something, or just sitting there playing, like, I think Nate and I played like Civ 6 on our, like, we just bring our laptops and play video games while we were waiting for people to come into the shop so we could, like, do our job more. So yeah, I was sitting there. Nathan comes in. He says, hey, I just, he was like, yesterday I met with this guy, Chris, from a place called Be Caffeinated. And I had no idea what that was. I was like, cool. That's
cool story,
awesome.
Bro.
and he was like, yeah, he wants to meet you as well. And I was like, does he? So I was in. I mean, I always love meeting new people. I love taking advantage of opportunities that are brought to me. And I trust Nathan's judgment. So I was like, I'll go with you and let's check it out. So I went, and I remember it was really cold outside, and there was like this big heater. I was sitting, so Nate and I were sitting together. I had my glasses on. They kept fogging up from my mask. Nathan was getting over like a cold.
And he got a nosebleed.
During the meeting. And I was like, this is great. Because it was like peak like COVID time. Like, Nathan didn't have COVID. He had like an allergy cold because it's like winter, and he just kept coughing.
Yeah.
And I was also getting over a cold. The same time, Nathan might have given it to me, or I might have given it to him. Who knows? So both of us were just coughing, and I was like, "This is a disaster." He just thinks like we just actively have COVID and have just come to this meeting without like rescheduling or anything. That's just what was happening in my mind. But it was a productive conversation, I thought. We were kind of able to explain more of what we did. Nate and I had worked on a website we built as a mock-up. We did that at Droop Scoops too. As soon as Nate told me,
you built out a mock-up Be Caffeinated website. Didn't you?
We built out a Be Caffeinated website.
Forgot about
at
that.
Droop Scoops. Today, Nathan told me about it. We were like, all right, let's get started. So we did. We built a website. We brought it to Chris, showed it to him. He gave a thumbs up. We never used it, but
No.
but at least it showed him like that we were like hungry towards it. And I remember also Doug came, and then Nathan looked at him and was like, "Who are you?" He was like, "Do you like work here?" And then Doug said, "I'm an owner." And they just sat down and played in the fire. And then his dog was also there. Very cute.
Yeah.
Very cute
The
little
puppy.
Yep.
Yeah,
I forgot about
it's
that.
good times.
For the listeners, Doug's dog is named what?
Puck.
Puck.
Like an espresso puck.
Yeah. And also when he shouts it,
You
It sounds like
mother
he's-
pucker.
also to all the ladies out there, it's a cute dog, cute guy. He's single. So Doug, what was your first, I guess, impression of Nate and Dillan?
I thought they were weird.
Has that impression changed?
No, but I like weird. So yeah, no, it's like there's weird, and then there's like weird. They're the good weird.
There's lowercase w and uppercase w.
Yeah, it's like the guy that Nate talked about before that was into ponies. That is capital W weird. Like, I would not associate myself with that guy.
But to each their own.
Yeah, I will happily associate myself with Nate and Dylan because, they're interesting characters. They're fun to be around. They're just good guys. So
you heard it here first, folks. So our perspective, I had done Becaffeinated marketing myself up until that point. Doug and I were kind of like, we kind of reached a point where we were like, I think we need more help with this because we had 2 shops at this point. I just didn't have time to devote to it as much as I wanted to, and I knew that it could be. And so that was kind of in our mindset. And then Nate reached out to us. I was like, hey, this sounds great. Let's talk about it. And then I was like, we could use more baristas and marketing help. So I brought him on kind of as both roles, and became a marketing manager instead of a marketing guy. And that was a really interesting transition. And we've kind of built out our own systems ever since then. And we have an Excel spreadsheet called Marketing Team Shenanigans because that's just how we do it. And then that went really well for a couple months. And then what kind of inspired Hive Think? I don't think I even know.
We remembered you talking about how you kind of wanted this to be like more of an agency thing eventually. And we didn't think it would happen this soon at all. Like we were like, yeah, we'll do that in like
Couple
5
years.
That's great. Yeah. But also at the same time, like Nathan and I were kind of thinking like, we should start an agency because like we just graduated college. We were thinking about getting an MBA, but you talked us out of it.
I wasn't the only one.
You weren't
right?
the only one.
Okay.
Yeah. I reached out to several sources, but surprisingly, none of them said I should go for it, which I thought that meant something. So I didn't. So yeah, it was something that Nate and I have been wanting to do for a while, and then you wanted to do it too. So we were like, kind of just makes sense if we just did it. Nate and I have kind of resources. Chris has a lot of resources. We can use Chris's resources and then kind of tell him that we have resources too, but not as much.
it's the facade.
No.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
that's how it happened.
So we went through many an iteration of the name, right? Like we had entire tournaments of different names that we built out.
The Tournament of Doom.
Yeah, that's what it was, the Tournament of Doom. And we settled on Hive Think. And what's kind of the reason that we settled on Hive Think Media?
Kind of like Hive Mind, and also Becaffeinated, bee-themed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty good thing going on. So Hive Think, like Hive Mind, everyone's kind of working towards one goal. Like bees kind of just live to do one thing, and it's go and get food to make babies. And that's what we're doing.
Making money to
right.
get food and make babies.
Yes, sir.
That's definitely a Mississippi concept. I love you, Mississippi.
I don't. I'm just kidding. Mostly.
Yeah. So I think a really interesting thing to throw in here. So you talked about how Luke was kind of your way to get in contact with us. So Luke is from the same small town in Mississippi that we're from, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Doug's family knows Luke's family. And in fact, Doug's parents built Luke's parents' house at one point. Is that right?
Yeah. I don't think they live there anymore, but we lived in a house that his parents loved the floor plan of. They made a couple of changes to the blueprint, and my parents kind of like oversaw the construction of their house. So it was basically identical in almost every single way, and it was really weird.
Like walking into their house and it kind of being the same as your house almost.
Yeah, it was like, same room and same location, same bathroom size, same shower. Cool. The only differences they made, I think, the only one that I remember at least was they put in an extra door to the back deck. So like we had a living room and a den. And in the living room in my house, there was no door to the back porch. It was in the den area. And theirs, they had an extra door in there. So there were 2 exits. And I was like, they just made the blueprint better. Like, I don't have to walk to the other side of the house now. So, but yeah, it was just small world. And I was actually in band with his sister too for a short little while. She played quads on the drum line, and I was in the pit because I was not good enough to be on the drum line.
So the world just gets smaller. We keep running into people that we know from Hattiesburg, like the shirt guys we use. The guy was from Hattiesburg. Luke's from Hattiesburg. So like, you knew Luke, we knew Luke. This connection was made. It shows how important networking is, and like that you should never insult people because they might be related to them or something. But yeah, so it's a really fun kind of serendipitous origin story of HiveThink and how it came out of this weird happenstance forming relationship, and now we're all really good buddies, and we're having good times with it. So yeah, I think let's kind of wrap it up with let's talk about our individual superpowers, and then maybe end with what we want HiveThink to look like, and then like the podcast itself. So who wants to go first with their superpower real quick, and maybe like 30-second summary of their superpower?
You're looking at me.
You got it, Doug.
I
Dougie
guess
Fresh.
my superpower is I'm kind of like, as the quote goes, jack of all trades, master of none. I have my hands in a lot of little things, and you know, I know at least something about whatever you ask about, most likely, and I can at least help guide people in a general direction of where they need to be.
Yeah, awesome.
So I'm kind of going back on the thing that Senior Trend is good at, and I think I'm very good at making connections, particularly on LinkedIn. I started like my freshman year of college, and I'm at the Sasha group because of that, because I literally reached out to like the VP of the Chattanooga office and asked him if he wanted to get coffee with me, and just kept doing it. Then I reached out to Gary, and it was like, hey, let's talk. Like, that's what I said. And we did. We talked.
The confidence.
And I was like, nice. I was like, I got a whole like 4 minutes with him, but during the 4 minutes, he was like, move to New York with me. You can be my assistant, but you have to quit all of your businesses and stuff and like move to New York. So that was a no-go for me. But yeah, I think connections are my superpower for sure.
Awesome.
Shot down Gary V. Jeez.
No, I just pushed it back because Sasha Group is owned by Gary. So.
Yeah, it's like he still turned him down to move to New York and be his assistant. That's crazy.
Yeah, but then we couldn't do HiveThink or this podcast.
True.
Nate, what's your superpower?
So I was thinking like some kind of like form of like connecting as well, but I think Dillan is more like Dylan's very good at like a more like professional setting. I think, like he said, he's very good at like doing like, you know, LinkedIn stuff like that. I think people see me on LinkedIn, they get a little frightened. I'm very good, I think, at like turning people into friends. I think that's something like I've really shown. Typically, like, you stick me in a room with people and I can have actually nothing in common with them. I can not even like them. But like within like a day or two, they'll be like patting me on the back and calling me buddy. That's been my experience.
There's definitely been a pandemic of the word buddy at Be Caffeinated recently.
But yeah, so I think that's like a big part of it. It's like I'm very good at like at just turning people into friends and like convincing them of ideas. I think that's a big one too. Yeah. What about you, Chris?
Man, I don't know. I think my main superpower is ideas. I love ideas. I love iteration, pivoting. I have too many ideas sometimes. I sometimes lack the execution, which is why Doug and I are such good business partners. We're very complementary. We come up with ideas, and then Doug a lot of times like actually does them. And I'm like, oh yeah, we came up with that like 2 months ago. Oops. So that's a little bit of my kryptonite. But yeah, I think ideas, and then I think this is both my superpower and a weakness as well, but I really care about people and their happiness. which is great. But also I get really sad sometimes when like we've had the highest rate of turnover in the last 3 months that we've ever had in our business. And most of it was just normal. Like we hired summer people and I knew they were leaving. Like obviously a summer hire is going to leave at the end of the summer. And then we had a couple people go to other coffee shops in town because they wanted something else that they offered, which makes sense. And like none of it was really, hey, screw you, I hate decaffeinated. Like I'm still friends with all these people, but I was like, I had a week where I was just like, man, everyone hates us. No one likes us. Like it's over. Not really. I'm being hyperbolic, but it's, I think it's because I care so much that I don't know. I tied too much of my own value into that. So I'm figuring out this line of like making sure I can provide everything that I can for my people, but also understanding that sometimes I'm not going to be able to provide it, or they'll get what they need and then move on. Especially since most of them are college students. So I guess it's kind of both my superpower and weakness. But yeah. And then I think our goal is so Gary Vaynerchuk started VaynerMedia. They only work with Fortune 500 companies. He was like, I want to help the small guys. So we started Sasha Group. But small guys to a whale shark are still very large fish. And so the minnows can't afford to pay for Sasha Group. And so that's kind of where Hive Think comes in, is like we're here for the small business people, the people like us that if someone was like, hey, you want us to help you with your marketing, it's $30,000. And we're like, dude, that's my entire yearly salary. I can't afford that. We're here to be that kind of the fill in. So we're like, hey, you want help with your social media? We're here for you. And it's not going to put your business out of business before you can make any money off it. So we kind of want to think of ourselves as the supplement to the supplement, I guess. Is that fair to say?
Definitely.
Yeah, entirely.
Yeah, cool. And we kind of specialize in social media management, logo design. M-Rock over here, Michael, he's an awesome artist, and you should look him up on Instagram. It's Michael_creative, or is it creative_Michael? Michael_creative. He has some cool art. He sets up at markets and stuff and sells it. And he also does some really cool stuff on like Procreate and stuff. And so he's kind of joined us within the last couple of months. He manages one of our coffee shops and is now also kind of the video and graphic design guru. So we're slowly building our team up. We're finding like holes that we need to fill and filling them with people. And it's really fun. And it's like basically building our own Pokemon team with a bunch of Charizards and Lucarios, you know.
Eventually, we'll send them to fight.
Yep.
Fluttershy.
Have decaffeinated fight club.
They don't know what they signed on the dotted line for just yet.
Yep. I'll be like, Dylan, I choose you. You know. But yeah. So we're just kind of building it up. It was another form of vertical integration, and Hive Think is just going to be a really fun way for us to help small businesses with stuff that we've experienced our own struggles with. And then to sign off, what do you guys think is the goal of Startup Heroes, the podcast?
Just show off those small business startups in Chattanooga, to kind of like tell their story and give them an outlet for them to tell their story. Maybe like, I know our next episode, I'm pretty sure, is going to be Naughty Cat Cafe. So I'm super excited to hear about how those guys started and what their passions are.
Which that may not be the first episode.
Might not be.
But it will be
That's
an
one of
episode.
them.
Yeah.
As an outside perspective, since I won't be terribly involved with the podcast, you know, I'll hear about it and all that kind of stuff, but I doubt I'll be here every single time. I think Dylan definitely nailed it. I also think it's networking. Like it's a good way to get people in the door and talk to them and build relationships and things like that. So,
and help people find out about them, because there's so many cool places in Chattanooga that I've never heard of. And I like to dig into local small businesses, and there's still so many that I find out about every day. So if we can do our part in sharing those stories, and like Doug said, getting them in the door so that they can share and reach out to other people, that's kind of the goal. So
It also is a learning tool, I think, because like with like, you know, talking about like our powers, our kryptonites, you're seeing like where people are successful, what mistakes they've made, and basically learning off of that. So it can help your business as well.
And then I think some of the side things we're going to do is going to share our journey with learning how to do podcasts and marketing stuff. And Michael is going to help us build content out. We're going to make our own YouTube channel, I think, where we do some crazy stuff and just have fun. Yeah, Doug does arson. Doug blows stuff up. And it's going to be a great time. I'm going to do the Gary V thing. I'm calling it now. We are going to be the biggest Chattanooga YouTube channel and podcast that Chattanooga's ever seen. And you heard it here first.
Who's the biggest currently?
I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the
but we're going to be.
I need a target.
Yeah.
For that first episode of Doug Does Arson.
No. You did not hear that here first. But yeah, so I don't know how long it's going to take, but we're going to get there and it's going to be awesome. And if we're not there in 3 years, call me out for it.
Yeah,
So,
we'll upload this in 3 years as like a throwback Thursday. Remember?
the CW experience.
Chris called it, yeah.
Chris called it. I like
Chris called it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that sums it up for episode 00 of Startup Heroes. Thanks for listening. If anyone even listens to this, it's been fun just chatting with our friends here. Yeah, look out for us on all of the places you can listen to podcasts. Personally, I prefer Spotify. This isn't branded or paid for them, but that would be cool if we could one day get sponsored by Spotify. But yeah, Startup Heroes. We're going to learn about small businesses in Chattanooga, and we're signing off. I'm Chris Wood.
I'm Nathan Tucker.
I'm Douglas Lee.
And I'm Dillan Whisenant.
And thanks for listening.
This podcast brought to you by Hive Think Media. If you like this podcast and you want to stay in the know of what's going on with us, follow us at Hive Think Media on Instagram or check us out at hivethinkmedia.com. Thank you for listening.